Have you ever asked ChatGPT a question and felt disappointed by the answer? Maybe it was too short, too generic, or just not as useful as you expected. The truth is, ChatGPT is usually only as good as the instructions you give it. Most people type a quick question, get an average response, and assume that's the best AI can do. But that's not true. A few simple prompt techniques can completely transform the quality of the answer you get. In fact, some of these tricks can make ChatGPT feel almost like a different tool. Whether you are a student, creator, freelancer, or professional, learning how to communicate with AI effectively is becoming an incredibly valuable skill. In this video, I'm gonna to show you 7 powerful ChatGPT prompt tricks that can help you get smarter answers, better ideas, and more useful results. These aren't complicated hacks. They are simple techniques that anyone can start using immediately. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to get far more value from ChatGPT than most people ever do. So let's get started. Let's start with the first prompt trick, role prompting. This is one of the simplest techniques you can use, but it's also one of the most powerful. Instead of asking ChatGPT a question directly, tell it who you want it to be first. For example, instead of asking how can I grow a YouTube channel, try saying, act as a YouTube growth strategist with 10 years of experience. How would you help a beginner grow a faceless YouTube channel in 2026? Suddenly, the response becomes much more focused and specialized. The reason this works is because you are giving ChatGPT a specific perspective to answer from. You can use roles like teacher, marketer, programmer, business consultant, fitness coach, or almost any expert you can think of. Whenever I want higher quality answers, I almost always start by assigning a role first. And that brings us to prompt trick number 2. Give context first. One of the biggest mistakes people make is asking questions without providing enough information. Imagine walking up to a stranger and saying, help me make money. That's very difficult question to answer well. But what if you said, I'm a 17-year-old student, I have basic video editing skills, a laptop, and 2 hours available every day. What are some realistic ways I can earn online? Now the answer becomes much more useful. The same thing happens with ChatGPT. The more relevant context you provide, the better the response usually becomes. Whenever you are asking for advice, ideas, or strategies, spend a few extra seconds explaining your situation. Who are you? What's your goal? What limitation do you have? What results are you looking for? Those small details can dramatically improve the quality of the answer. And when you combine prompting with context, that's when ChatGPT starts producing responses that feels much smarter and more personalized. Now let's move on to another technique that can make AI think much more clearly. Prompt trick number 3 is step-by-step prompting. This technique is incredibly useful when you are asking ChatGPT to solve a problem, explain something complex, or create a plan. Most people ask a question like, how do I start business? That's a huge topic, and because the question is so broad, the answer often ends up being broad as well. Instead, try asking ChatGPT to break the process down step by step. For example, explain step by step how a beginner with no experience can start an online business. Now, ChatGPT has much cleaner structure to follow. The response becomes easier to understand, easier to follow, and usually much more practical. I use this technique whenever I'm learning something new because it turns complicated topics into manageable steps. Whether it's studying, content creation, programming, or productivity, step by step prompt often produce better results than general questions. Now let's move on to prompt trick number 4. Few short examples. This sounds technical, but it's actually very simple. Instead of only telling ChatGPT what you want, show it an example first. Let's say you want Instagram captions written in a specific style. You could say, here are 2 examples of captions I like. Then paste the example. And finally ask, write a new caption in the same style. Because ChatGPT now has a reference point, the output becomes much more accurate. This works for emails, social media posts, blog writing, scripts, product description, and almost any type of content. Whenever you have an example of the result you want, show it to ChatGPT. Don't just explain it. The AI usually learns much faster from examples than from vague instructions. And once you start combining examples with context and role prompting, the quality of the response improves dramatically. Now let's look at a technique that can help ChatGPT improve its own answer. Now let's move on to prompt trick number 5. Ask ChatGPT to critique itself. Most people stop after getting the first answer, but that's actually where one of the biggest opportunities is hiding. After ChatGPT gives you a response, ask it to review its own work. For example, you could say, analyze your answer and tell me its weaknesses, or how could this response be improved. What's interesting is that ChatGPT can often identify problems that weren't obvious at first. It might notice missing information, weak explanations, poor structure, or areas that need more detail. And once it points those things out, you can ask it to create an improved version. This simple trick can dramatically increase the quality of the final result. I use this whenever I'm working on script, content ideas, research, or anything important. Think of it as getting a second opinion without leaving the conversation. Now let's talk about prompt trick number 6, iterative improvement. One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting the perfect answer from a single prompt. In reality, the best results often come from a conversation. Let's say ChatGPT write an article for you. Instead of starting over if you don't like it, keep improving it. You can say, make it more professional, add more example, shorten the introduction, explain the section more clearly, or rewrite this for beginner. Each instruction helps define the result further. The more you collaborate with ChatGPT, the better the final result usually becomes. And speaking of getting exactly the result you want, let's look at one final prompt that can completely change how ChatGPT presents information. And now we have reached prompt trick number 7, use output formats. This is one of my personal favorites because it is so simple. Yet most people never use it. Instead of only telling ChatGPT what information you want, tell it exactly how you want that information presented. For example, let's say you are researching a topic. Instead of asking compare YouTube and TikTok, you could say compare YouTube and TikTok in a table with columns for audience monetization, content lifespan, and growth potential. Immediately, the answer becomes much easier to understand. The same idea works for almost everything. You can ask ChatGPT to create a table, a checklist, a step-by-step plan, a study guide, a business proposal, a social media calendar, or even a complete workflow. The more specific you are about the format, the more useful the output usually becomes. I use this trick all the time when I'm planning videos, organizing ideas, and learning new topics. Because instead of spending time restructuring information myself, ChatGPT does it for me. And here is something interesting. When you combine this technique with the 6 prompt tricks we have already discussed, the result becomes significantly better. You can assign a role, provide context, ask for step-by-step reasoning, give examples, request self-criticism, improve the answer through conversation, and finally tell ChatGPT exactly how to present the result. At that point, you are no longer just asking questions, you are directing the AI. And that's the difference between getting average answers and getting truly useful ones. Now let's quickly recap all the 7 prompt tricks and talk about how you can start using them today. And those were 7 ChatGPT prompt tricks that can help you get much better results from AI. The best part is that none of these techniques are complicated. You can start using them today. Let's quickly recap them. Role prompting. Give context first. Step-by-step prompting. Few short examples. Ask ChatGPT to critique itself. Iterative improvement. And use output formats. Each of these tricks can improve your prompts, but when you combine them together, the result becomes much more powerful. The difference between an average answer and a great answer is often the prompt itself. And that's why learning prompt engineering is become such a valuable skill. So here is my challenge for you. The next time you open ChatGPT, try at least one of these techniques. Then compare the result with your normal prompt. I would love to know which trick worked best for you. Let me know in the comments below. And if you know another useful prompt trick, share it so everyone can learn from it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to Mr. Faisal. I post videos about AI tools, productivity, technology, and practical tutorials that help you save time and work smarter. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.